Okay, it is about 8:30, 8:37, and welcome to open house or week one of contemporary issues in criminal justice. I'm Professor Richard Wright, and many of you know me already because you had me in classes, and I am going to take the next hour or so and share with you the information about this particular course so that you can be prepared about what is going to take place. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. As you already know, my instructor information. And one of the things that's really important in this course is APA citations in the body and references at the end of all papers. All papers. And we're going to talk about what is all papers. And some of this information here you are all familiar with from previous classes, so I won't take time. Rubrics are in each written assignment. And as you can see, the live lectures take place every Thursday from 8:30, and today is 8:30 to 10, which probably we won't go that long because of the fact that many of you have been in other classes, so you know what to expect. But there are a few things I am going to address. Be aware of the fact that the lectures here take place week 1, week 3, and then you don't have another one until week 6, and then you have week 8 and week 10. So in this course, you're going to have 5 lectures, okay? And then I'll have the recordings here, and you know how I send them out. All right. So I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to share this video, which all of you should, but this is just a reminder about academic integrity. And I'm going to go ahead and include that. And let's put that in here. And I'm going to take my headset off so that you can. Then I'll be right back in just a few minutes.
What is academic integrity? Academic integrity is making decisions in your academic life based on honesty, trust, responsibility, and respect. This means being honest in your behavior while respecting the work that others do. Children is distributing or similar words or statements, not having authority opposed expressly or by consent to evidence, prior instruction. Families of children can be asking for students or answers, or responding to students. Using notes, devices, and explaining something as interpreted as outcome. Practicing first the concepts and illustrators. How their classmates work in the system classroom and other factors such as academic integrity policy that can be found in all groups. Always ask your professor before you leave to answer the classroom or work together with classmates on assignment. Was it another
Okay, so that's it on academic. Um, you should abide by that. Of course, you've probably seen this video. You've been in other classes of mine as well. Okay. Included in this announcements for this week is a special announcement, and I always leave it up. And that announcement is a reminder that APA requirements must be satisfied for all written assignments. This includes the field report. Now, I'm going to talk about the field report today because there's going to be some differences in how you're going to complete this assignment this particular quarter because of the uh, pandemic situation that we're in with COVID-19. So I'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. But pay close attention to this announcement. It is very, very important. Many students in this class lose 5 points because they fail to cite sources and they fail to provide references and or a cover page. Okay. So let's go down to the welcome announcement, which you should be familiar with by now. This again is very standard. Pay attention to all the announcements and post an introduction in the student lounge. And then check your course mail because I send messages to you that way. And then the syllabus, which is pretty standard. And then your course calendar, which we're going to go over in just a few minutes. Course questions, where you can post something that you might have concern about, and anybody can answer these questions, including your classmates. Resources tab, you are familiar with that already. And then the report tab will give you access to your gradebook. But just in case, the resources tab is at the top, and that's where you can click on, and you could see that video again is there, but also library resources that you could use for research, a guide dealing with APA, Grammarly. Make sure you run your papers through Grammarly, as many of you are familiar with that process, and making sure that you check the plagiarism box. And then the transferable skills information here, as you can see, critical thinking and digital fluency and information literacy. These are the 3 critical skills that relate to personal development, so that you understand how to put together your written assignments. Digital, in this case, in this class, there is no textbook. So And I'll say this up front, that this course is more akin to, as I say it all the time, an independent studies, and you check in with me to get clarification on issue requirements. But I can tell you from the beginning that if you follow the processes that are set forth in the rubric, you should be in pretty good shape. Of course, you already know uh, my policy about reaching out to me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day by text, by calls, or by emails. Then information literacy, using reliable sources, credible resources, not sources like Wikipedia or sources. I think that if you use sources that you discover from the Library and Learning Center that have been vetted properly, you will have credible resources. And then the next three transferable skills relate to communication, being able to communicate written as well as orally, and being able to understand nonverbal language, such as, when a person shakes their head up and down, then that means yes, no, side, and other things you can tell about reading the body language of people. Diversity and teamwork involves dealing with people from all backgrounds, all ethnic groups, religious beliefs, political differences. The truth of the matter is that everybody should be respected from who they are. Actually, we learn from learning from people who are different than us. We need to keep our minds open and be very empathetic and work, as I said, collaboratively with people from various backgrounds and perspectives. This school takes it seriously. I am part of what they call a diversity and inclusion team. And so because I'm on that team, then I'm involved with sharing that information throughout the school. Ethics and responsibility. Ethical practices are so important. I have taught ethics in criminal justice. I've taught ethics in business and medical law and ethics. Understand, it is very important to operate ethically at all times, as your careers and can be cut short by unethical practices. In the school here, we operate on ethical practices, which is part of the reason why we require citations in the body, which basically those citations provide support to the statements that are contained in your papers. And then references are sources that support the point that you are including in your paper from noted individuals who have conducted research, and you're able to use those in your written assignments. So ethics is very, very, very important. Professional responsibility, you'll find that when you go to your various professions, that you will be able to operate and follow the rules. As lawyers, we had a canon code of ethics. In medicine, they have the Hippocratic Code. And in almost every area, accountants have one, um, parole officers have one, probation officers have them in all areas. So you've got to follow those rules for the practices or whatever field you work in. If you want to learn more about transferable skills, you can click on this and it'll lead you to more in-depth information concerning that. And so anyway, that's your resources tab. Let's go back to where we were. So we have then, after the resources, your report tab, that's where you get your grades. And then there's some other information in here. Talks about our live lectures. Notice again, weeks 1, week 3, 6, 8, and 10. This is one of the classes where you will have only 5 lectures for these 11 weeks that you have. right. So now let's take a look at, before we get to the week 1 announcement, let's look at the course calendar. The course calendar lays out the schedule of everything. And so this week we're going to talk about the fieldwork component. Now, as I said before, it's going to be a little different in this course because of the pandemic and the social distancing that we're dealing with right now. So we're going to talk about that. Your initial post were due Tuesday night, and that is the relationship between the 3 components, and many of you have posted those. So, all right. Then our lecture tonight, you can see the next lecture is not until the 23rd. So that's week 1, week 2, and that'll be in week 3. Then your reply post, and then your written assignment, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. And then next week, overview of ethics, and then you have your initial post due on the 14th, that Tuesday, and reply post due the 18th, and then your written assignments due the 19th. All right. And then that following week, we will have our very next lecture. So if you keep going down, you will see the dates of all the lectures when they take place. And you see that the course ends in June. This course actually ends June the 19th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. You will always see this every time we do a lecture that I remind you about that. And you have the course calendar available to you, and you could either print it up or either you have access to it in the classroom at all times. So let's look at the syllabus for a minute. Real quick, it gives my information, talks about losing points if you don't have citations and you don't conduct research and you don't have a cover page. Notice that there is no textbook for this course, as I said. You know about the requirements as far as discussion posts. So this course will consist primarily of discussions, written assignment, and the field report. Like I said, we're going to discuss how we're going to actually do that. And we're going to modify some of the requirements that are set forth in this particular course so that you will be able to get this done. So it's going to actually, well, I'll tell you about it in a minute. Then there's a program assessment that will be in week 11. Okay. And then here are your assignments: discussion, written assignment, field work, program assessment, live classroom. Now, you already know what I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyway. Never ask me how to get a grade of C or below in my class. I work with A and B students, and that's how I roll in terms of it. But I'm here to help you. We've talked about the transferable skills. The late assignment policy is the same as it's been, and that is that you lose 10% for each day that the assignment is late. It says up to 7 days. However, don't get comfortable with that, as I say all the time, because of the fact that the 7 days, you could fail before you get to that point. For example, if your assignments are due on Sundays, which they are, and you turn it in on Monday, then you're going to possibly get 90. If you turn it in on Tuesday, you're going to possibly get 80. If you turn it in on Wednesday, you're going to get 70. And then by Thursday, which is only the 4th day, you will be down to 60. So you see what I'm saying there. All right. Discussion posts are due Tuesdays and Saturday reply posts. And discussion posts must be based on the week in which the discussion forum takes place. The discussion forum technically ends Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. But I do give my students a break in that if you submit your initial post on Saturday, and then you submit a reply post on that Sunday, I will give you points -1 for that. But if you submit both your initial post and your reply post that Sunday, you're not going to get any points for it. You already know about the policy. It says instructors may waive the late penalty in the case of extenuating circumstances. Extenuating circumstances has been really stretched in the past. I've had students who, for example, have been in the military. I've worked with them. And now we have individuals who are first responders, who are people who have to do extra work because of the situation that we're in now. And these are necessary workers. And so I will consider those circumstances. I do not want you, though, to give me, just let me know what's going on. The best method is to call me or text me. You can email me, but we could have a conversation quicker by either talking, and then a lot of times when I see a text, if I see that it's involved, I will call you and talk to you about it so we can get you on track here. So extenuating circumstances is very flexible and is determined by me, not the dean or anybody else. Okay. Incomplete grades, you can read that on your own. And then your academic integrity policy, you can read this as well. But I call your attention to the plagiarism part. We've kind of covered that through the video, but very important that you understand that we want your own thoughts and ideas. And you know where we are at this juncture of the course. There is also a ACAT, unless they took it out. So I don't see it in here. Let me see if I see it anymore. They might have taken it out. Let me see. I'll go to week 10 because then I'll remember whether or not it's there. Let's see. Your personal job. No, it's there. And so the ACAT test, I will be talking to you when we get to week 10 about that. All right. So now let's go to the assignments for this week. It's then versus now. It tells you the length of it. It tells you what your minimum 3 pages, double space, people. And here's the rubric. You click on this. You see it's due this Sunday. And then you click and you view the rubric here. And it tells you what you're supposed to do to get 15 points to 10 points. You see the 3 to 4 minimum pages, double space, remember. APA citations and references. You'll lose 5 points if you don't have them. I've already said that before, but it's in every assignment that you see. So that's the rubric for this written assignment. Okay, let's go back. And then your discussion post, and then of course your key word that I'm going to give you tonight for the live classroom. Now, let's go back and look at now what the lesson for the week is. So tonight, I won't talk about the lesson content, except I'm going to spend some time talking about the field report, field word component. But this is the written assignment, that's a discussion. So now let's talk about the field work component. Now, in the past, what we have had to do was to have you to conduct 10 hours in the field where you would interview someone or where you would go to uh, the location. But with the situation that we're in right now, I am going to let you know up front that in order to do this, you do not have to do the 10 hours in the field. What I am going to require is that you pick out an agency or an area. And this is what I suggest to you. If you are in a situation where you actually work for an agency, it's probably going to be easier for you to do this. But if you know what area you want to go into in criminal justice, I'm going to require that you submit to me a paper at the end of this course when the steps are done. So I'm going to take it down step by step so you understand it. So the 10 hours are, it says, with an approved agency of your choice. You can research that agency. You don't have to interview anybody unless you choose to do so. I am not going to hold you to completing those 10 hours that way. So the field work is done basically by your research. So now you can do your research not by going anywhere, like we used to have to go to the library. You can go to Rasmussen's library, or you can use reliable sources and credible sources to check agencies that you decide that you might want to consider for your professional career. So since this particular course requires that you go out in the field, and it says learning does not take place solely in the classroom, uh, this is very important, and that is that you begin to give me information pertaining to the field. For example, before, if we get to step one, there's 5 steps here. So step one, research a local criminal justice agency, and that's what I want you to do. Don't worry about the 10 hours of field observation. You can do some of the areas that are suggested here, the police department. Of course, you're not going to do ride-alongs or things of that nature at this time. If you work, some of you may work in halfway houses. You can do that while you from your work. In court proceedings, you're not going to deal with that either. So what I'm simply saying is that what I would suggest you do for step one is to let me know what type of field or what area that you desire to work in. So it's very important that you pay attention to this lecture because it will help you to answer questions that I know I'm going to be bombarded with. But you need to identify an agency or an area that if you were to go into the field working, what that would be, and then begin to prepare a paper concerning that area. If you do know someone that you can talk to on the phone and they're willing to talk to you, fine, that's good. That'll be a plus for you. But I'm not going to penalize people who are not able to do that because of the situation. So you got step one. Step two, you don't have to worry about this because you're not going to have to do this because of the pandemic that we're in. So you're not going to worry about step 2. Step 3, don't worry about this either. And then step 4, you don't have to worry about this either. But the last step is the final paper. So in a 2 to 3 page report describing what you learned from your research. So I'm changing this from a field project to a research project. And in that, you're going to write 1 to 2 paragraphs describing how your education prepared you for the type of job that you researched. Be sure to include a cover page with this information. Your name. You don't have to worry about the agency you visit because you're not going to visit an agency. You don't have to worry about the dates and times of the field work. If you observe the person or talk to a person, include that as well, but you're not required to. And that's pretty much it. Now, the due dates are to are very different from this. Now, well, the due dates are the same, but what you have to do, you want to prepare for week 5, which is the very first week that you let me know how you're coming along with your paper and what you've discovered so far. And you're going to continue your research for from week 5 to all the way till you get to the final module. There'll be a written assignment, and I'll talk to you about that. So that's how we're going to do the field project. So it's more of a research project than actually going into the field. If you have questions about that or what that's like, then you should reach out to me. But I think it's pretty clear that what I want you to do is, number 1, instead of doing the field aspects of it, I want you to research the area that you desire to work when you graduate, or that you want to grow into, or where you're working now and you want to be elevated in that area. Some of you are already working in corrections. Some of you are already working in law enforcement. Some of you are already working in halfway houses, as I said, in those situations. Whatever your capacity is that you're working that would fit within the criminal justice area, then you can utilize that information to complete this assignment. Okay, so remember, only until week 5, but don't wait until then. Start your research. All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's go to week 5, just so you'll see, and you'll see the assignment here. And you get to the field work part. I just want a progress report as to what you've done in your research and what you've discovered. That's what I want for week 5. And then I believe it's week, is it week 7? I think it is. No, it's week, I think it's week 8. It's week 5. I think it's week 8. I think I'm right. Yeah, it's week 8. Yeah. And then you're going to let me know how far you've gone. So you should have progressed further. So you're getting closer to what you're going to do for your final. And then week 9, no, week 10. Week 10. Here we go. No, it's week 11. I'm sorry. My bad. It's week 11. Week 11. So you'll have your actual final field report and complete the requirements. Again, I'm not hung up on the 10 hours, but I want you to have written a comprehensive paper at the end uh, with your experience that you discovered from your research, what you know about the field, and make sure that you do satisfy the rubric. When we come to it, we'll talk about what the rubric says, but it tells you the requirements. 2-page minimum requirement. So the key thing that you need to be doing is pay attention. So you got week 5, I think week 8. I'm sorry, week 5. I don't know why I keep saying something here. Let me look at my calendar. That'll help me. Okay, so it's week 5. Let's go back to the tools. Okay, so this is week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so here we go. This is a part of your field report that you're going to complete. All right. And then you go to the next one, and that is on the 31st. There's your field report there. So you're going to satisfy the status. So you got week 5, 6, 7, week 8. Thought it was week 8. Yeah, week 8. And then week 11. So it's 5, 8, and 11. Okay. Any questions about that, be sure to reach out to me. So that should clarify what you're going to be doing for the field report aspects of it. So I know I'm going to get some questions, so feel free to reach out to me. Just to summarize, the assignment, the lesson content rather, let's go back. What I want you to do, instead of a field aspects of it, I want you to do the research of the topic. And that's what I want you to do. Okay. And those are the things that I want that are there. I keep saying over and over because of the fact that I could have them to edit the course, but I don't think that that's something that we haven't talked about. But what I'll do is I'll check with my people and tell me if they tell me anything different. But this is where I'm going to proceed. But we got until week 5 when we get there in terms of dealing with that. All right. So again, the next lecture will take place when we do diversity, and that is in week 3. We will not have one in week 2. There will not be a lecture involved for those dates. Okay, let's see, I covered the syllabus, trying to make sure, and that's pretty much it. All right, so what I usually do now is I will stop sharing and I will go back and I will talk about my background and experience and what I've gone through. And all of you in this class pretty much know where I'm coming from in terms of that. So I'm not going to, let's see, I want to see something a minute. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. I'm looking at da, 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 uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Yeah, all of you know my story about where I came from in my experiences that made me be a criminal justice professional. So I'm not going to tell you that story because you know it already. You know, I've been through some challenges starting from when I was 7 years old and my dad was killed, all the way up to becoming a lawyer, and then ultimately deciding to become a professor teaching criminal justice, and how it is dear to me. And you should know that I have been a police officer, I've been an investigator, I've been a prosecutor and defense attorney. I've done all of these different roles. So anyway, the point of the matter is that I'm here to help you, each of you, as you complete this program and get ready for hopefully your bachelor program, a bachelor completer program. And so tonight, I just want to give you a key phrase that I want you to consider for this week. And that is research report. That's what I want you to remember. Research report. So you'll have to pay attention to this video in order to get a clarification about that. All right, so with that, I'm going to say good night to you, and hope to see you during week 3 when we do this again. So good night.